Right now, we are in the center of Guatemala, and we are at the Tikal ruins. And this is one of the most important sites in all of Mayan history. As you're coming through this, we noticed that over 80% of it is still just covered up in the jungle. And when we say covered up, it's basically just mounds that you won't even know are temples or things like that. And about only 20% of it is discovered. And so every year they're making new discoveries, they're seeing new chambers, and there's still a lot to find out here in these jungles. But the mission ahead in Guatemala is going to take us to a lot of places and offer a view into the past and the present. And eventually we'll be hooking up with some contacts in Guatemala City, but today is a day of discovery.
Just amazingly dense jungle and foliage. I mean, it's like triple canopy basically. You'll see like howler monkeys kind of jumping above you. And they're kind of screeching out and yelling with that kind of deep yell. Right up there. Oh yeah. It's pretty amazing going through these sites. I mean, it literally feels like, almost like you're kind of coming across them for the first time too. It still has this very old world feel coming through them. It's really, really amazing seeing all this. We're coming up on one of the main temples right now, and these are massive pyramids that just rise into the sky. What's really quite amazing is these entire structures would have been covered with like a plaster for appearance sake. And then they would paint them a reddish color. Like all of these structures would be like either a red or a blue color. So you'd see these towering structures 50 meters high that are just stark red. Also, is you can't not think about like the sacrifices that went on, the things that would actually happen during that time. It's pretty amazing to kind of think of it that way.
Oh, wow. Right now we're in the center plaza of Tikal, and this is actually a new altar, and you can see it's like burnt here in this area, and people are still practicing like Mayan rituals, Mayan beliefs, and they'll like sacrifice either chickens or other things like that. And they say also up in the Highlands that there's areas where people are sacrificing all the time. This is definitely, something that we're gonna go investigate more. We're gonna go deeper into the Highlands and check that out. But this is the beginning of our mission in Guatemala. The mission for us in Guatemala had begun, and at our first stop in Tikal, we got a glimpse into Mayan history. It was there also we learned that certain Mayan sacrificial practices might still occur today. We wanted to verify if this was true, and were told to head to the highland town of Chichicastenango. The mission we were on was leading us towards our contacts in Guatemala City, but if this stopover proved to be true, and there were Mayan sacrifices still occurring, this would be one of the most ancient practices we'd witness since the sky burial in Tibet. We arrived into Chichicastenango on a bustling market day, and were told by the locals we'd find the Mayan shamans at 3 different areas around town: the cemetery, the hilltop, and St. Thomas Church. We didn't really know what to expect. or if we'd be able to even notice the shamans. But the first area we'd visit would be the church area in the central plaza. Wow, yeah, here it is. And what's interesting about this is you can see the shamans out in front right now. And there's about 1, 2, 3, 4 of them working around here. And they're burning incense and they're doing prayers, or they're setting up these little altars on the steps. And it looks like some of the people are even coming up to the shamans and asking for a blessing.
You know what? Let's go in the church and see what they're doing in there. Talk a little bit about what we just saw at St. Thomas.
Yeah, that was a pretty wild scene. We saw shamans working in the church, basically like future tellers, psychic readers. They'll count beans, they'll do all sorts of divination inside of the church itself. And it's basically a totally accepted mix between Catholicism and the Mayan religion, and the people here go both ways on it, so they believe in both. And even out here in the cemetery, what we're about to see is shamans kind of practicing amongst the dead here. So we're gonna go check that out. The shamans are working here, and what they're doing is they're basically giving spells of protection for people, and you'll see that they put candles and different color of candles on the fires that they've created. The different color of candles represent men and women, so if you see a yellow candle, that represents a woman. If you see a white candle, it represents a man. And then you also see people who are shamans who are praying, and they're praying to Christ as well too. So you'll see them do the sign of the cross. So it's definitely a full-on mixture of Catholicism and Mayan beliefs.
Is that the animal sacrifices?
It's right there. You see the smoke coming off? It's kind of billowing. Just in between, it looks like there's like a clear-cut patch there.
Oh, this is pretty wild.
That's where we're going right now. Okay, so right now we're on the main mount just overlooking Chichicastenango, and this is basically the primary sacrifice ground. What's happening is they're just about getting ready to sacrifice a chicken. They've just pulled out 2 chickens, and it looks like they're about to sacrifice them here just on this mountaintop.
Wow, so we just witnessed a sacrifice, and that was pretty wild. And basically what they'll do is they'll just cut the throats and pour the blood into the fire. They'll be kind of chanting or praying. You'll see the shaman, he'll lay the sacrificed chicken at the altar. There'll be food and drink that's also there. They'll have pouring of liquor or alcohol over the offering. We saw them spreading rose petals or flower petals. And we're seeing kind of multiple sacrifices going on with different shamans performing them. One of the sacrifices we saw was a chicken that was sacrificed for the man's business that he just opened in town. So, you know, you see different things, whether it's for the couples or whether it's for businesses or prosperity. They pay the shamans to perform these sacrifices. You know, we heard the stories out of Tikal of these areas, but actually coming here and seeing it is pretty incredible.
In the days that followed, we thought a lot about what we'd seen at Chichicastenango. The sacrifices seemed to be commonplace, and the mixture of Catholicism and Mayan worship was real. Guatemala already felt like a totally different country from the rest of Central America. But now, moving out of the Highlands, we'd once again experience the contrast of this nation. Guatemala City would be our first site of ministry, and one of the reasons we were drawn here is we knew there was a rampant issue of drug abuse. We'd had some experience in the past with the narcotics trade. But here in Guatemala City, there was a different type of addiction. It was the addiction to the inhalant of solvents, and the most prevalent among these was the huffing of paint thinner. We'd heard there was whole communities of people addicted and living desperate lives on the streets. So the plan now was to find a guide and a ministry partner who would show us this firsthand. We made a few calls, and everyone said Jose was the man to see. When we got in contact with him, he said he was ready to go and would take us to the groups he was working with. We spent the first few days with Jose visiting some of the most dangerous barrios and getting the layout of the city.
This is like a settlement, and if you look like right above, it's basically the bridge is right above us here. It's just this little like shanty town kind of built right on the sides of these cliffs.
That's where all the cartels of drugs are.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Way up on the hill?
Up the hill, yeah.
So now here in Zone 1, this is the most dangerous for all of Guatemala City, mostly known for a lot of higher crime or things like that.
Like people say, never just walk this line alone.
On day 3, Jose brought us down to the terminal area, and it's here we'd first see the effects of those addicted to the paint thinner.
What do you find here? What's some of the troubled areas?
Actually, troubled areas, we're going there because I want to show you here what it looks in the daytime. If you see here, all here is just like commercial things. But when these start to be or become night, this is always trash, always nothing here. But in this part of town, that's where they live in.
You mean the drug addicts?
Yes. And if you can see here, all this is there. And they live close in these areas that are really, really poor.
Okay.
So we're going to those areas.
Yeah.
Papito, mi chulo!
All right, right now we just came across a group of people that Jose knows. These are all the people who are addicted to the paint solvent. It's amazing. Every time he comes to him, they all like come over and know him. That's just like the connection that he has. Every place that he goes, he gives of himself and helps in that way. So it's really awesome to see that.
These people live here.
Yeah, these people live here, yeah. As you can see, they're just sleeping now because they're just getting drugs the whole day.
People over there are like eating trash. I mean, they're like literally eating like...
Actually, that's what you eat there.
Yeah.
You eat trash. That's what you get. And you just search from the trash what is good for you and you just eat that piece. And that's what you eat. That's what they normally eat here.
How do they do the drug? How do they actually do like the paint thinner?
Now it's people sleeping the drug. If you see, it's just small pieces of white.
Yeah, you can see like a little rag, and they always have it up
It's
there.
like zanahoria. But like they normally get like with that. They use those bottles. It's solvent thinner. They sell it in the small bottles. That's how they drug.
The paint thinner that they use, they buy like these little bottles of it, and then they have like a little rag on the inside, and they kind of get it wet or moist, and then kind of clench their fist and put it up to their mouth and inhale it that way. And it really must be really rough on them because, I mean, we saw some guys the other day in the park and they're like totally wasted from it. I mean, totally just like, I mean, they can't speak right. They're kind of mumbling. They, you know, completely incoherent. They didn't know what was going on.
That's rough stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know. This place is just the first time that I came here was really tough to see it.
Yeah.
They want you don't feel pain.
Yeah.
They want you to forget everything that they feel, so they do drugs.
And what's amazing that you find is Guatemala that we've seen so far, you go in the jungles or you go in the highlands or you go in the volcano area, it's all beautiful and open country. And then you kind of get into the city and this is just, I mean, this is just gritty, man. It's just like, this is just gnarly stuff here.
And this group is just living in the streets for a long time. He's really sick, but he don't care. He just always.
What's he sick? What does he have? What's wrong with him?
If you see, he got just like a bag. He's like a catheter, and he's just really sick. And actually, if they go to the hospital, they don't receive him in the hospital because they are drugged.
That's rough.
And some of them are saying now that they are not here because they leave or they got killed. And this is a big group, actually. Now it's like 5 people. It's just. When people speak about need, they think about money.
Yeah.
But for me, need is just, if they don't have God, it's a need.
It's the spiritual need that's most necessary, you know?
But that's exactly the problem here. When you speak here, for example in Guatemala,
Yeah.
about need, they're going to just go direct to the, oh yeah,
Then
this
you-
is his poor, we need money.
Yeah.
And it's not like that.
No.
But I remember that some of the groups, it's great to just share the love of God.
Yeah.
When you're coming here, you help them to change their perspective.
Yeah.
Because, for example, I have a testimony to tell, and that's good. That helps because they know me. Some of them know me in 2 different lives.
Yeah.
But I said, yeah, you can do it.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
Why you cannot? And that's something that, for some of them, encourage them to just get out of the street.
Yeah.
¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo están? ¿Qué tal, maestro? ¿Cómo estás? Unos amigos, Timothy y Will.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches, ¿cómo están?
¿Qué tal? Bien.
Mucho gusto.
He's been living for 35 years here in the streets. And for him, it's normally, he's one of the persons that sound crazy and sound hard, but he's going to die in the streets.
Yeah.
Because he cannot get used to live well. He don't want to live well, not at all.
What happened to him here?
What's a knife?
Nice.
Va a aguantar, ¿verdad? ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? ¿Qué pasó, mano? His place is called the Tank. And this place is just like you see, it's a small community just living here. You can just see people is cooking here, and actually people is living here.
How long have they been here?
Years, many years, 20 years probably, that this place is just settled down. Yeah.
Nobody owns this land or anything?
No, it's the government land, and the government just allowed them to stay here.
Yeah.
Yes,
And they're just here all the time?
they are here all the time.
Just these people, or is there other
It's
more?
many people that come, people that goes.
Do they go to the dump and stuff too, or?
They go to the dump. It's like just a man just got here just 2 minutes ago, and just he came from the dump to just get plastic or things to just recycle and just
They kind of scavenge, get whatever they can, and then buy some.
yes and buy food or whatever they can.
And they all do drugs here.
They do drugs. Everybody just do drugs. they are not going to leave this place. They are going to stay here. They're going to die here. This is their house. It's their community. And in the part you understand because they just lose their mind just doing drugs, so they don't know the reality, what it means actually being the difference between a good life and a bad life. So it's hard to see these people just living here and they cannot find an exit for a better life.
It's rough.
It's rough.
Tough little existence back then.
Yes. ¿Qué onda? ¿Cómo estás? Bien.
After days in the city, there's nothing one can say except it's shocking. It's witnessing humanity in a cycle of total destruction. In our time with Jose, we had seen the violent and the desperate areas, and it didn't leave us with a lot of hope. This was another world where self-harm was the name of the game. But you can't give up, and with each step forward, there's always a chance to help and pull someone from the clutches of the enemy. In our research before we'd come to Guatemala, we had read about and seen images of the Guatemala City dump, which was the largest landfill in all of Central America. But what makes it such a unique place is not only its size, but the fact that each day, thousands of desperate people come to forage in this city of trash, looking for any items of value or parts they could sell for recycling. The dump is a toxic waste ground, filled with biohazards and numerous dangers. But for many, this is their only means of survival. So far in Guatemala, we had seen the past history of Tikal, the modern-day sacrifices in the Highlands, and the drug addicts on the street. But now in our next location of the dump grounds, we wanted to be a blessing and give to those in need. So we formulated a plan with Jose to deliver food to those who work there. We knew that God had led us here for a purpose, and tomorrow, it would all come full circle.
What's really nice is being able to have the opportunity today to be able to bring some food, some beans, some things down to the dump yards, and that's really a place that was kind of on our hearts when we were coming down here. Today we were going to be able to go down with them, with Jose, and be able to, deliver some food to these people that really live at just, the extreme poverty level. So, that's a real blessing. We got a ton of food here, which is really good.
Okay, so right now we've got a car full of food, basically beans and spaghettis, and we're on our way down to the dump ground. We're gonna go down there and we're gonna distribute the food. Just have to go through some security gates first, and then on down to distribute it.
Okay, so we're here.
All right, so right now we're trying to get permissions into the dumps, and Jose's in right now negotiating with them.
Gracias.
All right, we're good to go.
Look at this up here. Look at the dust just flying through here spitting up everywhere. Everybody's just working hard in here. Kids, adults, everybody. And what you're seeing is basically all the recyclers who are working here in this area, and it is quite a sight to see. I mean, there's a massive ravine and river that moves all the way around it, and then they bring in the fresh trash, and everybody's immediately on top of it, trying to get into it, get whatever they can from it. I mean, they recycle everything that you can imagine here, from bottles to ink cartridges to anything that they can, even cardboard boxes, separating them out.
I mean, it's so active. There's so many people running around. It's like an army of ants. And it's a very competitive environment where everybody's trying to get at the new trash as it's dumped in.
There's just vultures all around here, and people are working alongside them. It has a very, very chaotic atmosphere here, and there's no safety measures whatsoever. But we're about to go distribute the food to the people who are working here, and we know that God's gonna do a lot of great things. can see there's like a lineup for people who are, I mean, these people are desperate. You know, they want food. So it's like when they're digging through trash out here in the dump grounds. It's wild. Everybody's coming down. They're flocking down. It's pretty hardcore stuff down here. So the word of God, it says, don't forget the poor. But and look at how desperate everybody is. You know, within a matter of literally 20 seconds, people are lining up to get something. No matter who you are, where you're from, we are all God's children. The inevitability of suffering in this world will always be present, but to be a light, that's a choice. And when you share that light, you see the hand of God. Life is too fleeting to be hard-hearted or froze up. You act, you give, you live as He lived. And in the end, you love as He loves.